we're delighted that you've joined us live. Well, about half an hour ago or so, Simon and I were talking, and I just threw in the line, Neil's going to be joining us from about 12:30 onwards.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you the truth here, Neil. The number of fans of clubs who have been on with messages saying, delighted you're going to be speaking to Neil Warnock. Please mention to him, how about him coming to our club to manage us? Everybody still thinks there is a job out there for you to do. Do you think that, Neil?
Yeah. I think I've just what's happened on Saturday. I think if there were a time to finish, I can't think of a better way of doing it in front of your fans at West Brom. I think it was amazing. The players were absolutely amazing, and the fans were. And I just think it was the most moving thing that I've had. And I'm fortunate. A few weeks ago, Jim, I had an opportunity of going back to Cardiff this season, and I had to say I could say thank you because I never got that during the pandemic. And once again, absolutely amazing. And last Saturday in the Cardiff thing, does make me realise that how lucky I am, and it's just a great way. If that is the end, yeah.
Yeah, but it's all down to you, this clamouring for what you bring to a football club. So is it the end, Neil?
Well, I mean, obviously you never say never, do you? But like I said, I think if I'm going to finish with those, last Saturday in the Cardiff experience, really it seemed to make my whole career worthwhile, those two receptions, because it's so important that you please your fans. And I like to think that nearly every club I've been at, I've always left them in a better state. Definitely Middlesbrough, and quite a few others as well.
Simon's with me, so too is Trevor. We're going to bring them in a second. But Neil, Borough had dropped to 15th in the table. You'd won 6 games this season. Were you in any way concerned that there might be a serious conversation between yourself and the owner on the horizon?
Well, I've had quite a few conversations in the last few weeks with Steve, and put my point of view forward. I think he realises, as everybody does, we lost the whole back five for quite a number of weeks, and 3 weeks ago we were 6th. So if on Saturday at West Brom in the last minute the goalie saved one with his head and nothing about it. If that was 3 points and we had a penalty at Luton, we'd have been in the top 4 now, Jim. So that's how close it is, the Championship. It's as good a club. The players are as good. I've really enjoyed the players. And it's taken some doing. It's taken nearly 18 months to get the squad right. Usually when you take over a club, it's in turmoil or there are problems here and there everywhere. I mean, Chris is in the fact that he's taken over a club, really, that when January comes and he gets the 2 or 3 players that I was looking for, he gets all these fit lads back. There's no reason why they don't go on, not just to playoffs. I think they're good enough to have a shout at getting in the top 2. And like I say, it's only 2 results. So, I know Chris said something about climbing a mountain. Well, I think he's already in the cable car, mate. And he can see the summit. Because if you win the next 2 games, you could be in the top 4. So, yes, he's a lucky lad, but you need a bit of luck in this world.
Neil, I watch the landscape with Middlesbrough, obviously because I always have a vested interest in what you're doing. And I've seen over the last 18 months you hold the club together through the pandemic and through the landscape. I obviously, as you know Steve Gibson quite well. And I was surprised to see the circumstances unfold because having had you with me, I know during my time that what you do in football clubs, and this is not a loving, it's just an honest opinion, is you give people that you work for your very best, which in my view means that if there's a passing of the ways, you're entitled to a level of respect when that passing of the ways comes. So I was very surprised to see and hear that the way that you parted company from Middlesbrough was to get a phone call on the morning of the game asking you to take the game, and that after the game you wouldn't be there anymore. And it wasn't done face-to-face, and it wasn't done in a way that I think is becoming of Steve Gibson's sort of ownership. Now, I'm not asking you to comment on Steve Gibson, but I'm asking your reaction to the departure from Middlesbrough with those circumstances in play. And am I right? Is that the right analysis?
Yeah, of course you are. I mean, listen, I think when it comes, it's a football. I think when you look at agents that are around, they're all talking about their own clients and what have you, and pushing people, and they have, they've been like that for weeks and what have you. So I've known behind the scenes that people have been clamouring, but I think if I had to place one thing as a disappointment, it was what you've just hit on, if I'm honest. I thought if it was a phone call on Saturday morning, it could have been a visit to me on Thursday night. That's what I thought. I deserved a face-to-face meeting with whoever, really, rather than a telephone call. Because, make no mistake, when I came, it was in a mess, a right mess. Got a good chance of going down. And, we've done that. We've turned it around. We've actually, I'll give you an example. I saw somewhere it said how many players I'd signed this season. But if you look at people like, I can take 6 players like Uchi Pazu and Peltier, Solbamba, Toyosi, a couple of goalkeepers. You add their wages together, those 6 lads, and I've got 7 grand change from British Bongas. That's just 6 players out of there, and so I've really tried to be careful as well at the same time. But and we all know these things happen in football. And listen, it's a fantastic job for Chris. And
the reason why
I'm just sitting amazed at what Simon said, Neil, that you knew during the West Brom game that it was your last game.
Yeah, I knew before. Yeah, it was. If anything, it probably made me more determined. I had a chat with the lads. I didn't tell the lads before 10-3 because I didn't want them all going. You know what it's like nowadays. Yeah. They're all on the phones, tweeting and texting or doing whatever they're doing. And I didn't want to tell them that. So just before we went out, I just sat them down. I said, listen, lads, it's my last game today. I know it'll be a surprise and disappointment for some. 1 or 2 might be happy. I said, but what I want you to do is go out there today and show me how good you are, because you are good. If we hadn't made so many silly mistakes, we'd be in that top 3 or 4. So go against one of the best in the league today. And we had Saul Bamber and Pelt here, who was supposed to come as a coach, I think, Saul. And Pelt was just filling in. And then we had 2 kids in the team and 3 kids on the bench. And I thought we were fantastic. We should have won the game against West Brom. And I thought we played more football than them as well. So it was it was a strange circumstances. But I'm glad I did take the game now, because the reception after the game, the players were amazing. They took me over to the fans, and then the fans were fantastic. And that's what you're in the game for.
Neil, Trevor's going to come in at this stage. Just before we go on, did you consider for one moment walking before kickoff?
Not 1 minute. No, not 1 minute. Because they were my lads, these lads. They all know how we've worked hard. We've lost a lot of players, by the way, which we needed to. And these lads are great characters now. They're all together. And I wanted to get results at West Brom. It's another place that I love getting a result.
You gotta love it.
Yeah, I gotta love that.
Love that.
Neil, listen, I can sense it from the enthusiasm in your voice, how much you still love the game. 1967 Chesterfield, you're a young kid making your debut. 50 plus years in the game. What's the secret?
I think I've always done. I don't mind you, Trevor, when you play, but when you have a disappointment, you have to get over them quickly and not get too high when you have good times. But I also think, in my own case, as a player, it was proving people wrong. Always proving people wrong. And as a manager, it was always similar things. And if you look at the people that I've worked for, my successes really came with people I really got on with. And Simon's on the programme today, and I've retired about 10 times now. and I've got to say to you, once at Crystal Palace, I did think it. We actually got beat by Scunthorpe at home. Probably, I think it was about 3-0. And I went in and I was talking to, I can't even remember which member of staff it was, and I said, look, I can't do any more than this now. That was embarrassed today. And within 2 minutes, in popped, glitter Mr. Jordan, and came up breezing through the door. And I said, listen, Simon, he says, so I said what I said. He said, that's bloody real. I've got goose pimples as I'm talking about it. He said, that's stupid, Neil. He said, you're the best one for the job. You're going to just turn it down. You're going to go home, have a night, come back tomorrow, and we'll go again. And that's why you're good. And that was it. And like, nobody, who motivates the motivator? You've got to have somebody motivating the manager. And
great.
He was unbelievable.
There you go, Mr. Jordan.
Wow.
Neil singing your praises. Funnily enough, Neil, there's similarities here to you in West Brom at the weekend, because I told Jordan this is his last show today just before we came on air. Not a chance of it. The man is flying here at talkSPORT. He's flying, Neil. Simon, on you go.
But listen, the thing is, people disliked him more than me at that time.
That's a bloody tall order, wasn't it? Yeah.
And hey, we both ended up getting stitched up with.
We did a little bit, mate. We did a little bit. But what I do say, and I mean, people, you know, I'm very critical of situations, very critical of people. No one's beyond reproach. But I make the point again that there's very little respect in football, and there's very little respect sometimes that people are often entitled to, because people sometimes are very fair weather and very disloyal. But in my time, and it's not a loving, it's an honest approach, because I believe calling things for what they are. Working with Neil, when I had 7 or 8 managers, during the 10 years that I owned a football club, I had ups and downs, relegations and promotions, and far too much media attention for my own liking. But the most enjoyable experience was working with Neil, because you knew that you got a bit of respect, you got included into the equation as the owner, and also by the same token, if something wasn't liked, it got kept behind closed doors. And that's why I'm surprised that no one's entitled to be dismissed in the way that they want to be, because no one likes being dismissed.
Yeah.
I just think in the instances of people like Neil Warnock, when you've managed a team and you've given your best, and that's all any owner can ask from somebody, is if somebody gives you the best and ain't good enough, well, as an owner you can accept it.
Of course.
And you afford a little bit of courtesy. So I think it's a little bit close. I'll be interested to see. Here's the flip side of that argument. I really didn't like the way Chris Wilder left Sheffield United. I really didn't like the lack of respect that he showed the Sheffield United owners, who had backed him, supported him, and the moment the first bit of adversity came along, he was out there turning it on its head and blaming everybody but himself. And I'll be interested to see if the lack of courtesy that's been shown to Neil gets reciprocated back from Chris Wilder to Steve Gibson if things don't go well at Middlesbrough between those two.
You see, you like Neil, don't you? So
I
Neil's
do.
in a category of one, isn't he?
Well, I don't like you. No, that's true.
Oh, that's fair enough. Neil, we're being inundated here with people saying it's not going to be your last club. He's going to crack on. It's Neil Warnock you're talking to. Neil, if the right offer comes along, you take it, wouldn't you, again?
Don't let's get carried away now, Jim. I think this was going to be my last season, and it will be. It will be my last season. And you know that's what I'm looking into now. Like I said,
don't believe it.
Great.
He does a press conference with me in 2007 and says, "I ain't being funny, Chairman, but there's no other jobs for me. This will be the last one for me." That's 14 years ago, and about 8 clubs.
Well, if you remember rightly, I went to come down to Palace for sympathy for you, really.
Shut up, you.
I used to think below Watford was the pitch, and then I go to Palace and I had fantastic time, and
you were brilliant.
QPR.
And I tell you about sympathy. I've got to get in there before he goes off on a tangent.
Go on.
Here's how much sympathy he had for me. Chairman, who's the best manager in the division? You are, Neil. Then why is Dave Jones getting paid more money than I am? Well, I guess he's not anymore now.
Neil, this is typical of we're getting in, and we'll finish with this. Carl Riley, Neil Warnock, live on talkSPORT this lunchtime. He's an absolute legend. He deserves to chill out in Cornwall. You've done a great job. Neil, you have, and something tells me it's not over yet. I want to thank you for joining us live today, Neil.
Jim White and Simon Jordan, Monday to Thursday morning, 10 till 1. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.